I know you suffered a lot. I know you've been hurt by the people you gave everything to. They took your kindness like it was free candy, like it cost you nothing, when in reality, it cost you your soul. They drained you. They tore pieces out of you. And then they had the nerve to leave you there, broken, bleeding, acting like you were disposable. Disposable. That's the word they stamped on your back, isn't it? But you're still here, still breathing. And that, my friend, makes you dangerous. Because broken people who keep breathing, they don't play the same anymore. They don't love the same anymore. They don't trust the same anymore. They become something else. Something the world isn't ready for. Look around you. The ones who laughed when you were drowning. They thought you'd stay at the bottom. They thought you'd give up. Fold in on yourself. Disappear. But here's the sick little twist they didn't see coming. Pain doesn't just destroy. It builds. It sharpens. It strips you down to raw steel. And steel doesn't break. Steel cuts. So yeah, you're broken. But that doesn't make you weak. It makes you unrecognizable to the ones who underestimated you. You ever notice how people love to preach about loyalty until it's their turn to show it? Hypocrites, every single one of them. They vanish the moment the storm hits, then come crawling back when the sky's clear, acting like they never left. You gave them love, they gave you scars. You gave them your time, they gave you excuses. You gave them your heart. They gave it back shattered, like glass under their boots. And you sat there asking yourself, what did I do wrong? But that's the wrong question, isn't it? The real question is, why did I let them so close? Because the truth is brutal. They didn't hurt you by accident. They hurt you because they could. Life doesn't hand out sympathy cards, my friend. Nobody's coming to patch you up. No savior's gonna hold your hand through the fire. It's you, alone. And that's the part that kills at first. The loneliness, the silence, the weight of carrying your own damn cross while the world watches. But let me tell you something harsh, something you already feel deep down but you don't want to admit. That loneliness, it's your weapon. It teaches you. It molds you. It makes you untouchable. Because once you learn to stand in the fire alone, no one can ever burn you again. They wanted you broken. They wanted you begging. They wanted you on your knees. But here you are, still alive, still breathing, still capable of turning that pain into something they'll regret for the rest of their miserable lives. Oh, they'll regret it. Because the day will come when they look at you and realize you became the very thing they feared. Someone who doesn't need them anymore. Someone who doesn't chase. Someone who doesn't forgive so easily. Someone who doesn't break the same way twice. So yeah, you're broken. But broken isn't the end. It's the beginning of something darker, colder, stronger. And when they finally see the monster they created out of your silence, out of your suffering, they'll wish they never touched you at all. You walk through life carrying invisible wounds that nobody sees. People look at your face, they see you smile, they hear you laugh, and they assume you're fine. They assume you're strong enough to handle it all. They assume because you don't complain, you don't break. But deep inside, you know what it feels like to be shattered into 1,000 pieces and still be forced to move forward as if nothing happened. That's the real pain. Wearing a mask every day while your soul screams behind it. Isn't it funny? The world rewards the mask more than the real face. They clap for your smile, but they vanish when you cry. They want your strength, but never your weakness. And that, right there, is the curse of being human. You gave people everything you had. You gave them your loyalty when they didn't deserve it. Your time when they never valued it. Your love when they only wanted attention. And when you needed them, where were they? Silent. Gone. Like ghosts who were never really there. That's the sick truth. They never planned to stay. They only came to take what they could get, to drain your soul. And when you had nothing left, they tossed you aside. And you, with all your heart, thought they were different. That's the part that cuts the deepest. Believing someone was real when all they were was a mask, a performance, a user who knew how to smile just enough to keep you around. But let me tell you something. Your pain is not wasted. Every betrayal, every broken promise, every tear you cried, it wasn't for nothing. Because pain, as cruel as it is the only teacher that doesn't lie. Happiness lies to you. It makes you think things will last forever. Love lies to you. It makes you believe people mean what they say. But pain? Pain never lies. Pain tells you the truth you don't want to hear. That people will change on you. That love can rot. That loyalty is rare. That trust is dangerous. Pain tells you to stop expecting angels in a world full of demons. Pain tells you to rely on no one but yourself. And once you accept that, you become unbreakable. Think about it. The strongest people you've ever heard of weren't built by comfort. They were built by storms, by wars, by abandonment. Nobody became great from an easy life. Greatness comes from suffering, from rising when everything around you screams that you should stay down. And you, right now, are in that exact place. The pit. The darkness. The graveyard of broken hearts and wasted trust. This is where you either die inside or you're reborn. And being reborn, my friend, doesn't mean smiling and forgiving and pretending it didn't happen. No. It means turning cold. It means building walls. It means letting silence become your sharpest weapon. It means never explaining yourself again, never begging to be understood, never lowering yourself to fit into someone's shallow world. You want an example? Look at wolves. A wolf wounded in the wild doesn't beg other wolves for pity. It doesn't cry out hoping the forest will feel sorry for it. No, it limps, it bleeds, it suffers in silence, and it either heals or it dies. That's nature. That's reality. And you, as broken as you feel, have the same choice. Heal and become something untouchable, or die inside and let them win. And if you're still here, still breathing, still listening to these words, then I know you've already chosen. You don't want to die. You want to rise. You want to turn that scar into armor, that tear into fire, that silence into power. The irony is beautiful, isn't it? The same people who broke you will be the ones to fear the person you become. They'll watch from a distance, whispering, wondering how the hell you survived when they left you for dead. They'll regret the day they thought you were weak. They'll choke on their own pride when they realize they turned their back on someone who refused to stay broken. And you? You won't need revenge. You won't need to scream. You won't need to prove anything. Your existence will be revenge enough. Your strength will be the scar they can't forget. You think being broken makes you weak? No. It makes you dangerous. Far more dangerous than you realize. Weak is when you have something left to lose, when you're still clinging to illusions, when you still hope they'll come back and make it right. But when you've already lost it all, when you've cried until your chest burned, when you've begged in silence to a God who hears you even when no one else does, then what's left for them to take? Nothing. That's the point where fear dies, where the chains fall off, where the part of you that always needed approval finally burns away. You're not weak for being broken. You're free. Free from expectations. Free from illusions. Free from the poison of thinking people will love you the way you loved them. And when you're free, that's when you're untouchable. Let me explain it in a way you'll never forget. Imagine glass, fragile, beautiful, clear. You trusted people with it, held it out with shaking hands, praying they'd be careful. And what did they do? They dropped it. They stomped on it. They laughed while the shards scattered across the floor. And there you were, on your knees, cutting yourself bloody, trying to pick up the pieces. But here's the twist. Those shards aren't useless. That broken glass, it cuts sharper than it ever did before. And that's you now. You cut. You don't bend for anyone anymore. You're the warning people should have listened to. The world wants you to believe healing means going back to who you were before the break. That's a lie. You can never go back. And you shouldn't. Who you were before is the reason you got broken in the first place. Too open, too trusting, too willing to give pieces of yourself to people who never earned them. Healing doesn't mean becoming soft again. Healing means becoming harder, colder, wiser. Healing means walking with scars and never apologizing for them. Healing means saying, yeah, I was broken, and look at me now. Look at what I became. People will try to guilt you for changing. They'll say, you're cold, you're different, you're not the same person anymore. Good. You're not supposed to be. Change is the only proof you survived. Why would you stay the same after being burned alive? Why would you smile the same after being stabbed in the back? That's the thing about pain. It demands transformation. And if they can't handle the person you became, that's not your problem. Let them choke on the version of you they created when they shattered your trust. Let me drop another truth on you. The people who left you broken, they don't lose sleep at night. They don't sit around crying over what they did to you. They move on, they laugh, they pretend like you never mattered. And you stayed awake, replaying every word, every action, bleeding over people who didn't even care they cut you. But that's the past. You don't owe them your tears anymore. You don't owe them your pain. You don't owe them the satisfaction of knowing they still haunt you. They took enough from you already. Why give them more? From this moment on, every tear you shed should be fuel. Every scar you carry should be fire. Every ounce of brokenness should be a weapon you turn back on life itself. You know what really scares people? It's not anger. It's not revenge. It's silence. Silence terrifies them. When you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop begging, they lose control. Because silence means you've accepted the truth. Silence means you're no longer their puppet. Silence means you're building in the dark. And when you finally step out, you'll be too powerful for them to recognize. That's the moment you need to aim for. That's when they'll finally realize the cost of breaking someone who was real, someone who was loyal, someone who would have given them the world. They'll realize too late. And you'll be too far gone to care. I know you sit there sometimes, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself why it had to be you. Why you gave your heart only to have it ripped apart. Why you stayed loyal to people who treated loyalty like trash. Why you sacrificed your time, your energy, your peace, only to end up empty-handed. But let me tell you the truth they don't put in storybooks. Life doesn't care about fairness. The world doesn't care how much you loved, how much you tried, how much you deserved. You can be the most genuine soul alive and still get stabbed in the back by the very people you carried through the fire. That's the ugly side of reality. It doesn't matter how good you are. People will still betray you, use you, leave you. But listen closely. That doesn't make your love worthless. It makes their character worthless. There's a difference. Your value doesn't disappear because they couldn't see it. A diamond doesn't lose its worth because someone threw it in the dirt. It just means their hands were too dirty to hold it. You want to know the real reason you're hurting so bad? It's not because they left. It's not because they broke you. It's because deep down you thought they were permanent. And permanence is the deadliest illusion in this life. Nothing stays. People change, feelings fade, promises die. That's why you feel broken. Because you believed in forever, in a world built on temporary. And yet, that's not a weakness, that's your strength. Because even knowing the world is cruel, you still dared to love. You still dared to give. You still dared to believe. That makes you human. But now you've seen the truth. And the truth hurts more than any knife. The truth is, the only permanence you'll ever have is yourself. The only person who will never walk away is the one you see in the mirror. And once you accept that, once you stop begging for permanence from temporary people, you'll finally be free. Think about all the nights you broke down, all the days you carried the weight alone. Nobody came to save you, did they? Nobody knocked on your door and said, "Here, let me carry your pain." It was you. Always you. And that's the lesson the pain is trying to teach you. Stop expecting rescue. Stop expecting people to love you the way you love them. Stop expecting apologies that will never come. The world doesn't hand out justice. It hands out scars. And scars are proof that you lived through hell and walked out breathing. They're not signs of weakness, they're medals of survival. You should wear them like armor, not hide them like shame. Let me tell you a dark little joke. The people who hurt you, the ones who left you bleeding, they don't even realize what they've created. They thought they were breaking you, but really, they were building you. They thought they were cutting you down, but really, they were carving out the monster who no longer fears losing anyone. That's the irony. They created their own punishment. Because the new you, the cold you, the silent you, the one who doesn't chase or beg or explain anymore, that version of you is the nightmare they never saw coming. And when life puts you in their path again, they'll be staring at someone unrecognizable. Someone who doesn't flinch. Someone who doesn't forgive so easily. Someone who doesn't bleed the same way twice. And let's be real. You didn't deserve what happened to you. You didn't deserve the betrayal, the lies, the abandonment. But deserving better doesn't mean you'll get better handed to you. This world doesn't reward innocence. It preys on it. That's why you need to toughen up, not soften. That's why you need to be ruthless with your boundaries, not generous with your chances. That's why you need to guard your soul like it's the last treasure on earth. Because it is. People will try to guilt you for being cold, for being distant, for being silent. Let them. They weren't there when you broke. They weren't there when you begged God in whispers no one else could hear. They weren't there when you had to stitch yourself back together with shaking hands. So why in the hell would their opinion matter now? Here's the bottom line. You can cry, you can scream, you can fall to your knees in the dark. That's human. But don't you dare stay there. Don't you dare let the ones who left you broken win by keeping you shattered. Get up. Not because it's easy, not because it's fair. Get up because if you don't, then every single tear, every sleepless night, every betrayal, that all becomes meaningless. And your pain deserves more than that. Your pain deserves to be turned into fire, into strength, into a version of you that terrifies the same people who thought they killed you. When you feel broken, remember this. You're not finished. You're just under construction. And when you rise, you'll be the storm they never saw coming. You know what the cruelest part is? It's not the betrayal itself. It's how it changes you. It's how it poisons the way you look at everything afterward. Before, you trusted freely. You loved without second thoughts. You believed when someone said they'd be there, they would actually mean it. But once you've been broken, once you've seen how easily people can switch, it rewires you. Suddenly, every smile feels suspicious. Every promise sounds cheap. Every "I'll never leave" tastes like a lie. And you hate that, don't you? You hate that you can't look at people the same way anymore. But that's the cost of surviving. That's the price of being broken and still breathing. You don't get to be innocent anymore. Innocence is a privilege the world already stole from you. What you get instead is awareness. Cold, hard, unforgiving awareness. You start realizing that people don't actually want to know your pain. They want the story, but not the truth. They want the highlights, not the scars. They want to clap when you win, but they don't want to hear about the nights you almost gave up. And that's why you feel so damn alone. Because you've been to depths no one else has seen. And you know most people can't even handle a glimpse of it. They ask if you're okay, but they don't really want the answer. They want you to say, "I'm fine," so they can feel like they cared without actually carrying any of the weight. That's humanity for you. Selfish, shallow, temporary. And the sooner you accept that, the freer you become. You ever notice how pain doesn't just hurt, it teaches? Pain teaches you what words never could. You learn that people don't always mean what they say. You learn that someone can swear they love you while stabbing you in the back at the same time. You learn that time doesn't heal everything. Some wounds just become part of you. And you learn the hardest truth of all. Nobody's coming to save you. You save yourself, or you stay broken. That's it. No middle ground. And as harsh as it sounds, there's something powerful in that realization. Because once you stop waiting for someone to pick you up, you start building the strength to stand alone. And standing alone, that's when you finally become dangerous. Let me paint it clear for you. Imagine you're lying on the ground, bleeding, broken, begging for someone to help. People pass by. They look, they shrug, they keep walking. Some might stop, pat you on the shoulder, say, "Stay strong," and then disappear like everyone else. And you sit there, waiting, hoping, praying, but nobody's coming. And then, one day you realize it's either get up by yourself or die where you are. That moment, the one where you drag yourself off the ground with bloody hands and shaking legs, that's the rebirth. That's when you stop being a victim and start becoming a survivor. That's when you finally understand what it means to be unstoppable. But listen, don't get it twisted. Being unstoppable doesn't mean you won't hurt anymore. It doesn't mean you won't cry in the dark or feel the emptiness in your chest when memories hit. Pain doesn't disappear. It becomes fuel. It sits in your bones, in your scars, in the way your voice cracks when you tell your story. But instead of letting it paralyze you, you let it push you forward. You let it harden you, sharpen you, prepare you. Because every tear you cried taught you resilience. Every betrayal you survived taught you wisdom. Every lonely night you endured taught you independence. And all of that together, it builds someone who isn't easy to break again. Here's the thing people will never admit. They don't respect kindness until it turns cold. They don't respect love until it's withdrawn. They don't respect silence until it cuts deeper than words ever could. And you, yeah, you, are walking proof of that. The day you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop trying to prove your worth, that's the day people finally realize what they lost. But by then, it's too damn late. Because by the time they see your value, you'll be too far gone to care. And that's the sweetest kind of revenge. Moving on. Building yourself, rising so high that the ones who broke you can't even reach your shadow. When you feel broken, remember this. You're not weak. You're not finished. You're not worthless. You're evolving. You're becoming something colder, sharper, stronger. And the day will come when the same people who made you cry will sit in silence, wondering how you became untouchable. And you'll smile, not because you forgot the pain, but because you learned how to carry it without letting it crush you. That's power. That's survival. That's you. You sit in the quiet and you wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. But let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. You won't. You won't go back to who you were before the break, because that person is gone. That version of you died the moment they tore your heart apart, the moment the world showed you how cruel it can be. And that's not something to cry over. It's something to accept. Because who you were before wasn't enough to survive what's ahead. That softer, trusting version of you would have been eaten alive again and again. But the version of you being built in the ashes, that one, that one is dangerous. That one doesn't fall for the same tricks. That one doesn't beg to be understood. That one doesn't hand out love like candy at a parade. That one knows the cost of trust, the price of loyalty, the weight of silence. Think about it. Every time someone left you, every time someone lied to you, every time someone took your heart and played with it like it was nothing, they weren't just breaking you, they were training you. Training you to see through masks, training you to hear the lie behind the smile, training you to stop believing that words equal truth. They thought they were destroying you, but really they were shaping a weapon. And that weapon is you. Not the you who bends, not the you who cries into the hands of people who don't care. Number. The you who looks into the mirror and says, I don't need them anymore. The you who walks alone and doesn't flinch. The you who sees pain not as punishment, but as preparation. Let's be brutally honest. The world doesn't respect broken hearts. It doesn't reward innocence. It doesn't hand out justice because you were the good one. Number. The world respects strength, silence, and resilience. It respects the man who keeps walking, even when his legs are shaking. It respects the woman who keeps moving forward, even when her chest feels like it's collapsing. And you, sitting in your pain, thinking you're too broken to go on, you're exactly the kind of person life is trying to turn into a weapon. Because when you've lost it all and still decide to rise, you become the kind of soul nobody can play with again. You think people don't notice? They do. They can feel the change in you. They can see it in your eyes. The coldness, the silence, the refusal to beg. That's why they get uncomfortable around you now. That's why they whisper when your name comes up. They don't fear who you were. They fear who you're becoming. And they should. Because you're no longer the one who gives without limits. You're no longer the one who trusts without proof. You're no longer the one who cries in someone else's hands. Now, when you cry alone. And when you rise alone. And there's nothing more terrifying to people than someone who doesn't need them anymore. You know what the saddest part of being broken is? It's realizing how blind you were. Realizing how much you ignored the signs. Realizing how badly you wanted to believe in people who showed you over and over who they really were. That's why the tears cut so deep. Not just because they hurt you, but because you hurt yourself by believing them. But listen, don't drown in that guilt. Don't sit there and blame yourself for loving too much. Because loving too much is not your weakness. It's your weapon. You loved hard. You gave everything. You stayed real in a world of masks. That's nothing to be ashamed of. The shame belongs to them. The ones who couldn't value what they were given. And trust me, their regret will eat them alive one day, when they finally realize what they threw away. Here's the truth you need to etch into your bones. Your pain has meaning if you let it. If you stay broken, if you stay crying, if you stay begging for someone to fix you, then they win. Then all the scars, all the nights, all the breakdowns, they go to waste. But if you rise from it, if you let the pain harden you, sharpen you, turn you into someone unrecognizable, then your pain becomes power. It becomes the very thing that separates you from the rest of this shallow, selfish world. And that's the irony. Your brokenness becomes the foundation of your strength. The very thing that almost killed you becomes the thing that makes you unstoppable. So, when you feel broken, don't hide it. Don't run from it. Sit in it. Learn from it. Let it teach you who deserves your silence and who deserves your voice. Let it teach you who deserves a seat at your table and who should be left outside in the cold. Let it teach you the beauty of walking alone, because sometimes solitude is the only place you'll ever find peace. And when you rise again, and you will, you won't rise as the same person. You'll rise colder, wiser, stronger, and the world will never be able to break you in the same way again. You know what's twisted? The very people who shattered you will one day act like they care about how you turned out. They'll peek into your life from a distance. They'll ask around. They'll stalk in silence just to see if you ever recovered. And when they see you still standing, still breathing, still moving, oh, that's when their stomachs will turn. Because they wanted you buried, not breathing. They wanted you crawling, not climbing. They wanted you desperate, not dangerous. And the fact that you kept going without them, that burns them alive from the inside. Don't think for a second they don't notice. They notice. They always notice when the one they tried to break refuses to stay down. But let's cut the drama and get real. Pain is not some poetic story. It's raw, it's ugly, it's brutal. It wakes you up at 3 in the morning and doesn't let you sleep. It makes your chest feel like it's collapsing. It makes you stare at walls, wondering if life is even worth it. That's the truth of pain. It strips everything away until all that's left is you. And that's the point. Pain isn't here to destroy you. It's here to rebuild you. But only if you let it. Only if you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? Because why keeps you trapped in circles, but what now pushes you forward? And the only way you honor the hell you went through is by becoming someone so strong, so cold, so unshakable that the next storm doesn't even touch you. Think about all the times you were there for people who vanished when you needed them. You gave rides at midnight. You answered calls when you were exhausted. You listened when they cried. And when it was your turn, silence. No calls, no comfort, nothing. And it broke you, because you thought they were like you, but they weren't. They weren't built like you. They weren't willing to give what you gave. And that realization, it feels like a knife in the chest. But it's also the cure. Because once you understand that most people don't love like you do, you stop expecting them to. You stop handing out pieces of yourself to people who can't even carry their own. You stop bleeding for people who wouldn't give you a drop. And that's when you start keeping your heart in your chest where it belongs. Guarded. Untouchable. Priceless. You ever wonder why people always come back when you go silent? It's because silence is louder than words. Silence says, I've seen the truth. Silence says, you can't reach me anymore. Silence says, I don't need you, and that terrifies you. And the ones who broke you, they feel it. They feel the shift when your voice disappears, when your footsteps fade from their life, when your energy is no longer theirs to drain. That silence becomes their punishment. And you don't even have to lift a finger. You don't have to scream. You don't have to explain. You don't have to seek revenge. Just by moving on, just by surviving, you become the nightmare that haunts them in the dark. But let's not lie. You're still hurting. You still cry when nobody's watching. You still feel the emptiness pressing against your ribs. You still wake up wishing things had turned out different. And that's okay. Pain doesn't vanish just because you're stronger now. Strength doesn't mean you don't hurt. It means you hurt and keep moving anyway. It means you carry your scars into the future like weapons, not chains. It means you let the tears fall, then you wipe your face and keep walking. That's the real definition of strength. Not pretending you're fine, but refusing to stay broken. And let me remind you of something you keep forgetting. You're still alive. Do you understand what that means? It means the worst didn't kill you. It means the betrayal didn't finish you. It means the heartbreak didn't bury you. You're still here. And if you're still here, then it's not over. The story doesn't end with you broken. It ends with you rebuilt. It ends with you standing on the very ground they thought would be your grave, laughing at the fact that you made it out. That's the ending you're writing right now, even in your silence, even in your pain. Every day you keep going, every breath you take, every step you make, it's all proof that you refuse to die where they left you. When you feel broken, don't see it as the end. See it as the beginning. The beginning of the coldest, strongest, most untouchable version of yourself. The version that doesn't beg. The version that doesn't explain. The version that doesn't crumble when people leave. The version that rises out of ashes and makes silence louder than any scream. That's who you're becoming. That's who they'll regret ever crossing. That's who you were meant to be, all along. You ever notice how the world only claps for you when you win? Nobody applauds your breakdowns. Nobody shows up when you're curled on the floor at 2 a.m., wondering if it's even worth waking up tomorrow. Nobody cares about the nights you drowned in silence, fighting battles in your head that no one else even knew existed. But the second you succeed, the second you stand tall, the second you make it out of the pit, they all pretend they were with you the whole time. That's the game. That's how people are. They want the glory, not the grind. They want the celebration, not the suffering. And you, my friend, have to learn to stop expecting people to clap for your scars. They won't. Those scars are for you, not for them. The truth is brutal, but you need to hear it. Nobody's coming to save you. Not your friends. Not your family. Not the people you once broke your back for. You are your savior. You are your rescue plan. You are the only one who knows exactly how deep the cut goes. And yes, it hurts. It's lonely. It feels unfair. But it's also power. Pure, unfiltered power. Because once you accept that nobody's coming, you stop waiting. You stop begging. You stop sitting in the corner of your room praying someone will knock on the door and pull you out. Instead, you start clawing your way out yourself. And the day you stop waiting for hands to catch you is the day you grow your own wings. You've been broken, I get it. You've been tossed aside like you never mattered. You've been lied to, played with, left behind. And it carved you open so wide, you thought you'd never close again. But let me flip it for you. What did being broken really do? It showed you the truth. It revealed who was real and who was fake. It exposed who would stand with you in the fire and who would run at the first spark. It forced you to look at yourself in the mirror and realize that if you don't protect your heart, nobody else will. That's the gift of pain. It tears away illusions, even when you beg to keep them. And don't think for a second that your silence isn't noticed. Oh, they notice. The people who hurt you, they can feel it when your energy isn't theirs to feed on anymore. They feel the shift when your voice no longer calls, when your presence no longer bends, when your loyalty is no longer free. That silence eats at them. They may not say it, they may not show it, but deep down, they know what they lost. They know they traded gold for dust. They know they broke something that can't be fixed. And when they see you rise without them, that's when the regret chokes them. But let me tell you the hardest part about healing. It's not the pain, it's the emptiness. After the storm, when the tears finally dry, when the rage burns out, what's left is silence. A silence so heavy it feels like it'll crush you. And that's where most people give up. They can handle the screaming, the crying, the bleeding, but the emptiness, that's what kills them inside. But if you can sit in it, if you can breathe in it, if you can let that emptiness carve you without trying to fill it with distractions or cheap replacements, that's when you're reborn. Because the emptiness isn't punishment, it's space. space to rebuild, space to grow, space to create the version of yourself that no one will ever recognize again. You know why broken people are the most dangerous? Because they've already been through hell, and they survived. What can you take from someone who's already lost everything? What can you scare them with when they've already walked through the fire? Nothing. That's what makes you powerful now. You've seen the worst, and you're still here. That means there's nothing left this world can throw at you that you can't handle. Pain doesn't scare you anymore. Betrayal doesn't surprise you anymore. Loneliness doesn't break you anymore. And that makes you untouchable. When you feel broken, don't ask why me. Ask what's next. Because why will drown you in self-pity, but what's next will push you forward. The world isn't fair. People aren't loyal. Life isn't soft. But you can become the kind of person who doesn't need fair, who doesn't expect loyalty, who doesn't beg for softness. You can become the storm they thought would destroy you. And when they look back and wonder how you survived what should have killed you, you'll smile. Because the answer is simple. You didn't just survive. You became someone they'll never break again.
You know what they don't tell you about being